Hey, welcome to 1 Million Cups. This is the Kansas City edition. Um, every week we bring two entrepreneurs up to showcase what they're doing in their entrepreneurial journey. And we then do about a 20-minute Q&A. And who's here for the first time, actually? Welcome. Excellent. Who's here for the second time? There's one guy. We got two people, and one I know is creating a story back there. Welcome to 1 Million Cups, once again. We're going to start out with our, when we do the Q&A, we start out with our panelists. So I'd love for Ilya and Zach to stand up and give us a quick introduction. Tell us who you are and what your specialties are.
What? I don't know why I'm here. My name is Ilya Tabak. I'm building a fantasy football analytics platform called Edge Up Sports, and I also help people with physical experience measure, improve, and see what's going on. And more normally, interaction design is kind of where I spend most of my time.
Hi, Zach Pettit. I am a senior at UMKC, and I thought Brian was going to do all this for me, so I kind of forgot to prepare who I am.
I'm a senior aged person. No,
okay, I'm going to keep going. All right. Senior at UMKC, I am an ambassador at the Rainier Institute, leading the charge on something called One Day KC that I'll be telling you all about later at the end of this. Also, I work for Bloom, if you've heard of them. We do 401k management all online, and that's my life.
Great, thank you, Zach. I want to make a quick announcement that next week we're going to be celebrating our 3-year anniversary for 1 Million Cups. We've got some special things planned, so if you can put that on your calendar, you definitely want to make that. Also, we're going to do something a little different in the evening. We're just going to have a kind of a casual happy hour over at Graham and Dunn Wednesday evening. So if you'd like to join us to that and you're over the age of 21, we'd encourage you to do that. So let's go ahead and get things started. We've got Tammy with Spicy Guys, and she did bring us samples if you've never had a breakfast pretzel before. All right, I just added that to their line. Sorry about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hear it for Tammy.
Hi. Thank you. So my name is Tammy Ogren. This is my husband, Jerome, and we started Spicy Guys, a pretzel snack food business, a little over a year ago. So thanks for having us. We'll tell you a little bit about our journey. We had a seasoned pretzel, our original spice that we made for our kids for years. My girlfriend and I made it, and it's the kind of thing that many of you or your moms or grandmas had sitting on the counter, and they just loved. People asked for it. Their friends asked for it. They went off to college and they started saying, "Send us pretzels," and their friends started eating them, and their soccer team started eating them before they got out of town, and one of them said, "You should start selling these." Our friends would buy them. So I left a position as COO about 2 years ago, and I started kind of playing around with the ideas of what I wanted to do next. So they said sell it enough times, we went for it. We started with some founding principles. We're going to test the market and see if strangers like this snack food as well as our friends and family, because that's the true test. If somebody you don't know, outside your loyal followers will love it or not. And we're going to be open-minded to all the possibilities and opportunities. We did not come out of the food industry, so we didn't know anything about food, margins, distribution, but we had some, so we came out of other industries, and I can tend to be opinionated. So that's really my philosophy that I remind myself about. And to stay true to our values of faith, family, and fun, and really if we, and we've said this often, if we didn't enjoy what we were doing, we were going to change course and not let this venture control us and try to stay in control of it. And we have to remind ourselves a lot of that because we've had a really successful year. We were just awarded Emerging Business of the Year by the Independent Economic Development Council, and we're really humbled by that, but we've had a lot of growth and support this year. I teach business courses. I've led businesses and I consult, and we always say, ask yourself first, what's the problem in the marketplace? So we're selling a snack food, we're selling a seasoned pretzel. And I had a hard time getting my head around what's the problem. So I think of it as what's the hole in the marketplace. We definitely have a product that people like and started asking more. And so the hole in the market was a low-fat alternative to chips, other snacks in the marketplace. And people seem to really connect to the family-owned local, shop local business, and we've had a lot of support because of that. So who are we and what are we? We have 3 pretzels. It's a mini twist in the back. Please have a sample. We brought our original spice, which is the ones our kids and friends and family loved. We call it a little bit of heat. It tends to be highly addictive. We put that on the label because that's the most commonly heard thing that we heard from consumers. So then people started asking us for more heat. So we created extra spicy, so we added some heat. I don't personally like it, but my husband tells me not to tell people that. It's pretty hot. And then we had people asking for no heat, and we created something sweet. We partnered with a local Kansas City barbecuer competitor and used his rub, and we partnered together to get a smoky sweet flavor, which has become our second largest seller in a short time. We're releasing Just Ranch next week. So we came into this venture to say we're going to throw a lot of stuff on the wall and see what sticks because we're trying to stay open-minded. So we are in exploring a lot of options. This is a demonstration of retail. Retail, and I'll show you a chart in a minute, has been our biggest distribution channel. Convenience stores, bars, wineries, golf courses, concession stands. Our online, we have a website, we sell a couple online. We have not put a lot of focus and effort into our online sales, really because that's a constant, as you know, as small business owners, you're constantly juggling and prioritizing opportunities. So that has not been our biggest, we haven't put a lot of effort there. On the far left, you see a different label. We have some corporate private label that we've done where we allow a company to brand the front. We brand the back, giving it as corporate gifts or Christmas gifts or gifts to clients. And we've done some festivals and events. Festivals and events tend to bring in high margins and dollars and keep the machine rolling. But our long-term strategy is not necessarily to focus only on direct-to-consumer. We're a wholesale manufacturer. We also started a fundraising venture this year. My girlfriend and I met over a PTA mom table when our kids were in 3rd grade, and so we've spent 15 years fundraising and doing some ventures where you get a nickel on the dollar for your kids. So we've tried to create a fundraising package that we had 5 groups test this year so that their kids could get significant dollars for the effort. So that's a personal favorite, but we're still growing it. So as far as our customers, we have 2 customer bases. We're a wholesale manufacturer, so retail outlets, number 1. Number 2, who's our end user who eats these pretzels? We think anecdotally that it's about 18 to 15-year-olds. I believe that men eat more of them and women buy more of them based on just anecdotally what we see at events and what we hear. So as far as where we're at number 1 is bars. We started on Valentine's Day a year ago, and we had some friends that tried them out in local bars and retail stores. Wineries was a surprise to me, so when I say that I am trying to stay open-minded, I would never have approached a winery about buying a spicy pretzel. There was a hole in their tasting rooms for something to match with semi-sweet wines. So we're in almost many wineries on the Missouri side of the line, on the west side of Missouri now, all the way up to Weston and Smithville. So those are our customer bases. And quickly, you can see that we've grown. This is units produced from our first day at Valentine's Day a year ago, so we've continued to grow. And I'm going to flip through these because of time. Competition. Anybody that spends $1 somewhere they're not spending it on a Spicy Guys pretzel is what we consider a competition broadly. And our strategy is retail growth, And long-term strategy is to partner, not to create a large manufacturing facility with 100 employees, but to partner with distributors and co-packers. So I'll come back to our problems. So that's spicy, guys.
Great, thank you. Let's go ahead and get started with our panelists.
Yeah, I'll start with a question. Thank you for telling this story and kind of painting the picture. So I think it's always important to kind of ask the question of what's the goal? It sounded like you wanted to build a brand without letting the brand take control of you guys. So it doesn't sound like you're going for a huge growth opportunity. Can you talk through that a little bit more? Kind of where do you see yourself in a year, in 3 years? And kind of, is it a lifestyle business, or are you looking to maybe something else?
That's a good question, because we had some internal differences in our relationships as we grew the company. I'm not interested in a lifestyle business or a hobby business, and there's nothing wrong with that. So a lot of small food businesses, you make something that people love and you want to go to festivals and you want to do it on the weekends, and that's great. That isn't what we've decided to do. So we're growing strategically through retailers, Kansas, Missouri, and North. That's our immediate Midwest footprint that we're focused on growing, and that's through retail distributors.
And so if you go back to the chart before this one where it shows the efficacy, or at least the volume of each one of your sales channels, that one, which one of those speaks to kind of the retail channels? And how do you see that working out?
C-stores here and grocery stores is small. We have not purposefully approached grocery stores. Early on we did, and there's a real, our package didn't compete very well against 12-ounce Snyder's on the shelf and Frito-Lay shelf space. So we have backed off from that intentionally, but are looking at that over the next year. So it would be this market. You're going to see that bars and wineries are a huge part of our business, and it's just, and honestly, a local bar in the right place will buy as much as a convenience store per month.
So I guess my first question would come on the side of manufacturing or cooking or whatever you want to call that. How are you doing that right now? And if you randomly got an order of 5,000 bags of whatever, how are you going to scale that? Can you scale that right now?
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you. So we live in Cass County. The first call we made was to the health department in Cass County because we didn't know anything about the food industry, and it made common sense. They directed us immediately to Jackson County to the Innovation Center in Independence, which is a food business incubator. If you're not familiar with it, it's a nonprofit developed by the Independence Economic Development Council and the school district, and it's housed in the Independence Regional Hospital, the old Independence Regional Hospital at Truman and Forest. There's 5 commercial kitchens, packing area, dock, warehousing. You pay for the time that you need it. So it was a really a godsend for us because we get resources. We have facilities as we needed. If we needed to go in 24/7, we could, and there are 5 kitchens. So our plan on growth and how to handle growth is hiring, and we've identified people that we would hire to help immediately if we needed support in that fashion. We're out buying semi-automated equipment in May to be delivered to that facility, and we've identified a co-packer option when we got to high enough volumes.
Also, as of January 1st, this is what I do full-time. So production, sales, delivery, and we are actually working with one other person who is going to come on board and help with delivery. That way we can focus more on sales and then also in the production.
You can see the impact of that effort with the sales growth after January as well.
I guess my follow-up question would be on the sales side. How are you going about getting those sales? Are you going store to store, door to door, whatever you want to call that? Are you making calls? How are you handling that? And geographically, is there a plan behind that?
It's very diverse in the market because on the Missouri side versus the Kansas side, you see more high-end, like bars you saw was a large sales right there. On the Missouri side, there's more of the mom and pop bars. On the Kansas side, it's more of your corporate restaurant bars which sell food. The places on the Missouri side, we're able to get into those much easier. Plus, they stop selling chips. They go, we like these, we like the idea it's local owned, we go there. Other sales-wise, we're getting calls almost every other day. We're getting people, and it's through awareness. Once they try them, oh, these are interesting. At the venues that we've done, the Home and Garden Show, it's to get our brand out there. And once they find it, and through 3 shows, we've gotten 2 other major distribution channels. And also, one place I stopped with, the owner of that actually distributes for another major brand that wants to take us on too. It's just growing a lot by word of mouth too.
Yeah, I think that Jerome has been our really most significant salesperson, knocking on doors, knocking on bars, and giving samples. Our tactic has been to give samples. When people eat them, they tend to buy them, and we have a pretty successful. We're pretty successful at that, but we do have people calling us. Westlake's purchasing manager saw us at a show, gave us his card, called us, and we're going into all of the Kansas City Westlake hardware stores next month. With the opportunity to go national, I just wanted to test that market first. We had Hy-Vee Distribution Center salesperson call us, and we had a broker that represents small businesses to Hy-Vee Distribution Center call us, and we've had a distributor that represents small businesses to every commissary exchange in the military network call us. So.
I guess it's more of a quick comment. It sounds like you're testing a lot of sales channels. They're going to have different margin properties, different sales cycles, things like that. It would be interesting, and I'm sure maybe this is something you've already done, to visualize each one of those and then see strategically which one or which 2 really get you to where you want to go.
Right.
And kind of talk about that.
Okay, so we do have a matrix that demonstrates every one of these outlets, as well as fundraising and private corporate label and festivals events. So we have a matrix of our goals for the year based on past sales and growth history per month, and are projecting a 5 times growth this year, and we are actually on target to be at that point in April. So, thanks.
Awesome.
Okay, let's open it up to our studio audience. Toby? No? Okay, we got it back here in the back.
Do you mind talking about pricing, like your retail, your wholesale, your product cost, and if you go to a co-packer, is that going to lower your product cost?
Yeah, so one of our biggest challenges is lowering our cost of goods until our volumes get high enough in order to bring that down. So I never expected that buying pretzels in bulk was going to be a challenge. It's been our biggest challenge. So we are now at minimum volumes for large pretzel manufacturers. They want 2,000 pounds minimum order, and we're at that point. However, we got to get them to call us back. So we're going to a co-packer or partnering with someone helps us get our foot in the door where we may not be able to now on our own. As far as our pricing, we retail the small. We give a recommended retail price. The small 2.5-ounce package sells for about $1.49, $1.69 in stores. We sell it for $1.04. And our large bag sells for $2.50 and retails for $3.50 to $4.
Question in the center.
First off, it's great to see a company that's doing more than just getting out from behind the keyboard and working through all the different avenues instead of just focusing on making a web store and nothing else. But one of the questions that I have is, your package, your pretzels are your biggest way to make people like your product. They try it, they like it. Do you have on maybe the back of your pretzel bags, hey, do you like it? Buy some, here's our phone number. Hey, do you have a bar? Would you like to buy pretzels? Contact us. Written onto your package, so that way even if you're not there, even if the bartender's not talking to them, they still know where they can get some or how they can do it?
That is actually our next step. Tammy contacted a company yesterday and confirmed we are going to a pre-printed bag, because everything right now, apply the label on the front, apply the label on the back. It's very time consuming, and cost-wise, we found we're up to the volumes where it's cost effective to go to a pre-printed bag. We're in the design stage on that, starting actually yesterday, and with that, that note is the best idea. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a quick question here in the center. Have you contacted any of the local beer manufacturer slash bars like Casey Beer Co. or Beer Station? It seems like pretzels go nicely with beer, especially early in the morning.
Right, and they do. Our difficulty is, as we are small, I look at small market, medium market, large market. Once we get this co-packing, this machine to help us go from filling 140 an hour to 600 to 800 an hour, then our time is spent less on the production and more out on the streets knocking on doors. Our difficulty is we are limited on, with me doing deliveries 2 to 3 days a week, production 2 days a week, and then as I'm going out meeting and then trying to follow up with sales. So once we get production up, then we can knock on more doors.
Question on your right.
Could you go to your problems slide? I saw some nerdy stuff that I got excited about when you went through it really quick.
I did go through it quick.
Lower cost of goods sold, higher.
The shelf life issue is going to be taken care of with the pre-painted bag. With clear bags, any light on any food product deteriorates shelf life. We've done shelf life testing with K-State, and that's going to overcome that, and we can actually double our shelf life from 4 months to 6 to 8 months.
Could you talk about gross margins specifically, not taking into consideration your infrastructure costs? Because it seems at your price point, you may be selling yourself a little bit short. You have a high quantity product that's locally made. People will pay more for that.
So that's a good point. We had two strategies we could approach. We could take this product, package it into a specialty item, and price it at a high dollar. That was one option. We looked at the second option was keep it into something where we can go higher volume in every gas station in town and bars. And to do that, we can't get the same price point. We're not Gardetto's. In fact, if you look at some of those specialty snack items now, they've lowered their price to be trying to compete on the shelf with a more mainstream. So our strategy intentionally has been lower margin, higher volume, more widespread.
I have a question over here.
Yes.
Since this is food and taste, and it's a subjective thing as you have friends and family taste them and tell you what is good or not good, how have you made the choices on which flavors to go with?
That occurred through when we were at events. People said, oh, this isn't hot enough. You get the guys that come up, oh, I eat ghost peppers, da-da-da-da-da. They want that one-time burn. Well, then we went to added heat, but we designed the flavor with a heat without a burn still. Because if you're going to enjoy a snack, you don't want to have that back of the throat burn, you want to enjoy the snack. So that actually at events, the extra spicy, has become number one. Then people said, of course, what do you do next? And then we came up with Smoky Sweet. We're coming out with Just Ranch. One of the other biggest thoughts was going straight mustard. And that's been requested by people. So we're going to what's requested, but we're having trouble in that design stage because to activate the mustard seasoning, you have to use vinegar. And guess what happens to the pretzel? Disintegrates.
Yeah, so basically we listen to what people say and we're testing it at events.
Got another one here in the middle.
What factors went into choosing your name, and what have you done to clear or protect it?
So we have a trademark pending. We had tried to come out the name. Actually, it was a really hard thing to do because there were many people involved, and you can get some emotion and personal connection involved. We remodeled our house, and we had a cabinet maker's assistant who was a 25-year-old guy, and so at that point, last winter, a year ago, we were giving them out to anybody we could and testing it out, and he said, man, I like these, but then I'm a spicy guy. And we went through several iterations of a name, and somehow that name stuck with my girlfriend and I, and we drew the line in the sand and said, we're done talking about it.
The biggest difficulty with our name that I'm finding out is when people see the word spice, we're Middle America, Midwest, we think of hot. But spice is savory, seasoning, flavoring. So getting past that has been my difficulty when we've been at events for people to taste. Once they taste it, they're like, oh, these are good. We have the sweet and we have the heat.
So our patented final question, what can we do as a community to help you?
Okay, so I think that our biggest challenge is buying power as a small business. That's anybody that has help in getting someone to call us back as a small business. That's really a big challenge for us. And most of our big clients have come from someone referring us, honestly, and we have been really humbled by the amount of support in the community. People want to help people, I believe that. So connections or a phone call or an email helps.
Great. I hope that we can help you out today. So if anybody has any feedback or distribution connections for Tammy and Jerome, please see them after our event. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, before we bring out our next speaker, presenter, does everybody know that there's an announcement sheet that comes with this 1 million cups deal? It's back, they're all backed by the coffee and water. Just to kind of do a couple of highlights, there's, let's see here, the Village Square is having its grand opening today. It's today, 4 to 7. It's free. However, you do need to get tickets, so there's an Eventbrite URL here on the announcement sheet. Also then, next week at the same place is going to be the Getting Out of Mental Debt. I think over the last week or so I've gone into mental debt, getting the taxes finished and whatnot. So then, let's see here, the 23rd, the Athena League is having their monthly speaker and gathering at the Sprint Accelerator, where they're talking to the new the mobile health folks that are there. Take a minute and check those out on that sheet. We've got another one not on the sheet, which is for the Make 48. There is a special code that you can use on their website to buy tickets, and it'll save you $20. That code is KEY, K-E-Y, and that's so that you can get an autographed copy of Stephen Key's newest book. I don't know who Stephen Key is, but I'm sure that the book is worth taking a look at. And then we have another quick announcement here from Katie with the Lean Lab.
Hi, I'm Katie, and I just wanted to let you guys know that tomorrow, our fellows from our program, I help run the Lean Lab, which is a nonprofit incubator for folks building new solutions, products, services, school designs that impact public education in Kansas City, and they're demoing their solution tomorrow at 5:30 at the Monarch Room on 17th and McGee. It's an open bar. It's going to be awesome. And the cool thing about it, it's a pitch competition where all proceeds from ticket sales go to microfinancing the audience award for their favorite pitch. And if you use the code 1MCNOW, all caps, you'll get $5 off. So that's it.
Cool, thanks, Katie. And now we're getting ready for the next speaker, who is Shane Park with CoinPlay.io. Take it away.
I love PC games. I've been playing them ever since I was 8 years old. And how I feel about my favorite games is like how you or I feel about our favorite books or movies. They're more than just entertainment. They're an experience. And they transport us to new places, new worlds. Like distant, lonely planets with a disturbing backstory, one that you may not be able to survive to retell. Others put you right in the action, sending wave after wave of invading aliens at you who want to eat your brain. And others require you to make the tough choices in a resource-limited, post-apocalyptic, 8-bit universe. What's remarkable about these and many other games are that they're made by independent game developers, either one person or a small studio with little to no budget, much like a startup. And behind the scenes of making these amazing games is a business like any other. And running a business is hard. If you're an independent game developer, making sure your game gets discovered, it's a huge challenge. It requires social media marketing, advertising, and finding the right sales opportunities. If you sell your game in Europe, you have to collect and pay taxes. And they're thinking about doing that same thing in Japan. It just adds up to an administrative migraine. And while you're working on your next big release, there's no time to add new payment methods or currencies. CoinPlay.io makes selling PC games better. We work with game developers and publishers to sell their games on our website, CoinPlay.io. We actively grow and engage with audiences on social media to ensure our partners have valuable customers. On Facebook, we have over 12,400 likes. We've built our own e-commerce solution with customer loyalty in mind. It handles the taxes and accepts digital currencies like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin, as well as traditional payment methods. In 2015, total global PC game sales revenues will exceed $21 billion. My team and I are working to ensure our partners are on that forecast. Amber, she's our games manager. She knows the industry, the games, and developers. With her help, we've added 50 new partners and over 300 unique game titles in 6 months. Chris is our full-stack web developer with over a decade of coding experience. In his first 2 months, he built the foundation and first iteration of an entire e-commerce platform. And currently, he's working on new features to drive high-volume sales. And my name is Shane. I'm a BetaBlocks alumnus, and I've got a background in accounting, marketing, and startups. And together, we're building a PC games ecosystem where game developers want to sell their games and customers want to buy them. And we're looking for new, amazing game developers to join us. If you're out there, email us at dev@coinplay.io. And gamers, if you want to stay up to date on amazing new games and great deals, sign up for a newsletter on our website. And if you're not a gamer and you know one, tell them to visit coinplay.io. Together, we're going to make PC gaming even better. Thank you.
All right, thank you, number one. That is fantastic. Clearly, you've done some practicing for like a demo day or something. I don't know, with Wes behind me here. Anyways, so looking over your website last night, one of the most interesting things to me was the different currencies that you're accepting. So the different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, all that. So this isn't really a question, it's just giving you a chance to talk about that a little more. I want to hear more, just why did you decide to do that? What was the whole strategy behind that, and how's it working out?
Okay. Well, I knew about Bitcoin for several years now, but it wasn't until a variant of Bitcoin by the name of Dogecoin came about around 2013. And it just became wildly popular on the internet. I got swept up in it. I thought it was fantastic and fun. And one day I was like, I really want to sell PC games, because I love PC games, for Dogecoin, because I love Dogecoin. And we did it back in May, and I mean, we had no idea what we were doing at the time. But we found something that we loved, and then we were fortunate enough to get into BetaBlocks, and they pushed us to take it even further than that. And so that's how we kind of got started in that.
Has that, I guess I've never been involved in any kind of business that has had Bitcoin or any of that involved in it for the back end. So accounting-wise, I guess you kind of have the background in accounting. How does that work? How do you account for that? Do you have to change it in US currency to file your taxes and all that? How does that side of it work?
Luckily, there's payment processors who kind of do all the USD conversions on the back end. So there's no need for us to try to like reconcile different prices and all that stuff. And one unique thing that we do is actually pay our developers in Bitcoin if they so choose. But we don't do any of the holding of Bitcoin because that's way too complicated. There's IRS rules that are just too crazy, even for me. I just don't want to do it, unlike taxes, and I'm an accountant. But what we do is if someone wants to receive Bitcoin, we just buy it at the time and then send it to them, and it's just, that's the price. And so we don't ever have to deal with like it losing value or trying to figure out what day, you know, it was what price and stuff. And so we just try to make it very easy for us and our partners.
So I'm going to ask a similar question that I asked the last presenter. You're talking like a growth startup. Tell me kind of what you're thinking about targets, acquisition growth, this kind of stuff, and how you're doing in the last 6 months.
Okay. You know, when we first started, I don't think I had any idea how complicated any of this was. You know, I was like, I'm just going to go sell games, and everyone's going to love it, and it's going to be, you know, just like that. What I found out is that, you know, competition is actually pretty thick in this arena, but we have some unique things about us that I think that does set us apart. I mean, we have the opportunity to say, look, we sell games in a highly illiquid asset that you can't really spend anywhere else. And so we've been advertising that quite a bit. And for us, what we've learned from our partners is that selling a game is actually really, really hard. And they kind of already come to us sometimes defeated, going, I don't really know that it's going to sell, or they're already listed on many other partners, kind of all trying the same thing. What we have is the ease for our partners to sell on our site, and we're working on new selling strategies to try to get like high volume sales. We're adding game bundles and different models to kind of put a spotlight on games and game developers and give them a story. So what we want to do is really integrate with game developer communities so that they feel that we are behind them, not just selling a game.
So how do you deliver on that before your site kind of accomplishes a platform effect where there's users coming to explore these games? Or maybe you're there. Talk about that a little bit. How many viewers and users have to be on your website and actually participate in exploring for that to be a compelling offering for game developers?
I would say, let's see, so we track about 30 different competitors, and right now, like the best metric we're tracking is Alexa. So we have our top tier competitors who are probably in the thousands on Alexa, and we're just passing the millions. And so up until we get into around the 100,000 range, I think that's when it really is the inflection point, at least for Alexa to say, you've hit this point, now we're going to track you a lot more. Anything below that, there's not enough data, and so we started at like 10 million, and between November and today, I mean, we've cleared 10 million, and we've been working on SEO, and just recently we were listed in several affiliate websites that is driving us traffic without any advertising cost, and so we're adding all the things to give us that boost to get there.
Is that 10 million unique views? What is that? 10 million?
10 million. So Alexa Ranking does, I mean, they have their own algorithm, and it's based on how many views you get a month, all your social profiles, basically everything that adds up to how many people point to your site or visitors you get each day.
And I guess the final question is, so Valve, Steam, a couple of those folks that you haven't mentioned by name have achieved platform effects and have lots of users. How do you differentiate yourself, and how do you see yourself kind of playing in that ecosystem? Because as you mentioned, it is very competitive.
Yeah, so what we have going for us is digital currency. No one is really tapping into that market and selling to those users. And another thing that is an advantage to us is that we give game developers the ability to receive Bitcoin. And a few have actually accepted that value proposition because the sending Bitcoin and receiving Bitcoin is actually less expensive internationally than a wire transfer for both sides of the transaction. So if you're a game developer and you're making like a couple $100 a month, receiving a wire transfer, you're hit with like $40 But with Bitcoin, it's like 1%, and so it's much more palatable to do that.
Yeah, I guess the only thing there is Stripe just introduced Bitcoin processing, and so most web developers have a little bit easier. Anyway, that's not the point. Where do you see strategically yourself going? What's kind of the biggest challenge and your biggest opportunity there in the next year and the next couple of years?
Well, we look at everything as, we started to make every checkpoint called Road to Something. And so right now we're on something called Road to Bundles. And there's game bundles is like a very big selling strategy amongst our competitors. Our competitors can make 7 figures in one bundle sale. And I'm not saying we're going to achieve that at the get-go, but it is something that's out there for us. And so before we get there, we're adding all sorts of features to make the usability of the website much easier. So social logins, adding PayPal. We had it before, but we had to eliminate it for whatever reasons. So all those steps so that when we get to bundles, buying a game is just super easy and receiving a game is super easy. And then after that, it's our road to boring reports so that all our game developers know, exactly all the stats of their game, how many people visited their specific page, how many sales they've made. Everything's just for us an iteration, and that's what we're doing.
So I got the last one, at least for us up here. So I don't really know anything about Valve or Steam or any of that, but just, I'm sure most of us in the room are a little confused too. Can game developers sell something on coinplay.io and then sell on Steam and Valve as well? Is that what those are, platforms in that way?
Yes.
I'll let you go that direction.
Yeah. In fact, what we do is actually sell Steam keys. So Steam is a platform for PC, like it's the Xbox of PC, if you want to look at it that way. So we would sell games that activate on Steam. But right now, that's what we're doing because it's the easiest way to get into the market. Someone else owns the platform. You don't have to build an entire ecosystem for that. So what we're doing is just the selling. And then once we've proven this model, then we can explore either delivering our own games by ourselves or using other platforms and expanding. But for us, getting to market that's the easiest way to do it, and that's what we're doing.
We would like to open up the questions to the audience. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. Did you talk about numbers really quick? Like how many games are you selling right now? What's kind of your volume? What are you looking to do by the end of this year?
The amount of games we're selling, it's low to start. We've got a couple developers who are doing well, but that's just kind of unique to that game. Just recently, we added about 150 games from a big distributor. And so we're looking to add games like City Skylines. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. These are games that have sold 1 million units on their own. And so once we get those games, we'll see better traffic, and the other games we have will get better visibility as a result.
Okay, question right here.
How did you find your team, and how do you guys work together over by states?
So I'm just a big Redditor. I'm like a social media nerd. I'm always looking up stuff. I know more things about unimportant things than I should. And so when Dogecoin came about, I was on that subreddit all the time. We're always talking about silly things. And Amber, I found her, or both of them actually on the Dogecoin subreddit, but for different reasons. When I started CoinPlay, there got to a point where I just needed some help, and I kind of looked out for people that I interacted with that were fun. And Amber started as a volunteer back in November, and I actually had like 10 volunteers to start, and she is the only one that actually did a ton of work. In her first month of working with me, she contacted over 400 developers. I was just blown away. I made a spreadsheet that had, I'm an accountant, so I made a spreadsheet. That's how it works. And I was like, just add the names of the people you contact, and we'll see how it works. And 9 other people do the same thing. And so I'm looking at the spreadsheet, and all the entries are hers. And at a certain point, I'm like, she's kicking ass. I need her because with my time, I was only able to contact so many a week, and she did 400 in a month. And all of a sudden, that's turned into I think almost 1,000 now. And with her help, we added 50 partners. So that's how I got Amber. I said, I'm keeping you. You've got some equity. Please stay with me. And Chris, the same thing. I found him on that subreddit. he was a web developer for another startup, but that startup had a tragedy. You know, rest in peace, Carlos. And so after some time, you know, I realized I need a web developer as well, because I was trying to manage all that by myself. And I mean, I'm not a web guy. And so I contacted him and see how, you know, what he wanted to do. And he was able to help. And once he got started, I mean, you know, I was talking about a lot of big things, and he was able to be like, okay, well, we can do all that, and we've made some roadmaps, and he built our website, which is, I think it's fantastic, in 2 months, and we all have full-time jobs. And now we're building other features, and we communicate every day. We use Slack. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that. I mean, we are constantly talking about features, but we're very focused about what we're doing, because we also have productivity tools where it's like, this is the checkpoint, everything up to the checkpoint important, we're gonna keep going, and then everything else we'll put off to the side and then start adding them in. But communication for us, I mean, we're all remote, but it doesn't matter, we're all introverts, so it's better that we're at our own homes.
Got a question here in the middle.
Hi, I think it's a great idea, but one of the questions that I have is you bring up a lot of independent developers and kind of give them a place for a voice. Have you thought about giving them more support than just a voice, making a place where the independent developers can go to find help, find advice, maybe find developers of their own? So not just are you a marketplace, but you're also a place where independent developers can go to get bigger, to get better.
That's a great question. You know, I've thought a lot about this, and as far as the platform's concerned, there's only so much we can do in the time that we have, and so we've got our checkpoints. But since my time isn't just stuck in development, I've actually started a meetup group locally called Kansas City Gaming Alliance. And my partner and I, or my co-organizer and I, what we're doing is trying to pull in game developers and gamers, and we hosted our first LAN night on Saturday, and I met up with a lot of fantastic people in town who do game development and know people. And so what we're trying to do is build a community around exactly that, where, hey, you've got a cool product or cool project, come show it off. Let's find ways to help you, if it's through finding developers and connecting you, or if it's, can we help you out on social media? Tell us something to tweet, and we'll tweet it for you. And then we have the gamers there as well, so that we can have the valuable feedback from them. And so that is definitely something we want to do. And the platform, you know, that'll take a while because we have a lot of other features, but I think locally we can do that and build a good community here in Kansas City.
Shane, I got a few questions in the back in the center, but I see Chris's icon, is that a piece of toast?
Yes, it is.
Can I go to your website and find a game where I can be a piece of toast?
Well, these are actually not games we sell. These are just games that we play very frequently. And so Amber is actually a Counter-Strike nut. I've played with her, and I can't last. She's usually like the top scorer. I'll walk in and I'm dead.
Nice.
I play a lot of Minecraft, and I think a lot of people play a lot of Minecraft, probably too much.
Chris likes breakfast, I see.
Chris likes breakfast.
Okay, we got a question here.
Yes, I'd like to know, how do you evaluate the games to see if they'll sell?
You know, when we first started, it was basically anybody who would give us the time of day. And but you know, now we can be, you know, a little more, curate a little bit better. But there's two strategies we can go. I personally want a store that accepts anybody. If you have a game that you want to sell and it's easy to put on our platform, you know, it's not too much time for us, it's not too much time for you, and if we can find a way to sell your game, we'll do it. So there is no approval process now other than it needs to be sold on, or it needs to be available through Steam, because that's the platform that we're delivering through. Other than that, all the games are, you know, people that we reach out to or anybody that reaches out to us.
Question, front right.
I'm an independent game developer here in Kansas City, and when we put out games, the choice of platform for us is a critical business decision. So we're very much in the mobile space at this point, very much iOS first. But we've been approached by a number of different marketplaces to say, bring your game to our marketplace. For us, that represents, you know, a rather large expenditure to convert code, change things over, and we have to make a business decision at that point to determine whether or not it's actually worth doing it. You touched on it a little bit, but can you tell me a little bit about what sort of work would be involved to bring a game to your platform? And how do you convince those developers that your platform would be worthy of that effort?
Well, so right now, all we do is deliver Steam games. So if a developer wants to work with us and they're not planning to launch with that platform, then it's probably just not a good fit now, because I don't want anybody to spend a ton of time redoing code just so they can be on ours. However, for game developers who are planning or are already on there, I'm upfront about what we're doing. We're a startup, and so we're trying to experiment with all sorts of models. Just recently, I spoke to Richard from Sparkweed, and he has a game on PlayStation and Steam. And so, I reached out to him and said, hey, look, we're testing out some new selling strategies. I know you've done some high volume stuff before. Would you be willing to try this with me? And he said yes. And so next week we're gonna try a new strategy. And so I think it's the communication that we have with developers that's more important than just trying to sell them a bunch of features, because we can make any feature, but not all features are gonna be good. And so if we keep that strong connection with the game developer and said, hey, look, let's test this, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, great. We already knew that we were testing something. However, if it does great, then we can start replicating it. And so with game developers, it's just really sealing in that strong connection and for them knowing that we're there to work with them.
Shane got a question to the right.
I have just read For the Wind by Cory Doctorow. It's a science fiction novel. It describes very interesting ecosystem where gamers can convert game gold, game items in Bitcoin or real currency. So do you have any ideas how that can be implemented? Maybe there is something already in that space.
So I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand. So you've recently written a game.
No, it's a science fiction novel by Cory Doctorow. It's called For the Win, and it describes an economy essentially where gamers can convert a sword or some game gold, which they accumulate playing the game, into real cash.
Okay. That's a little bit different than what we're doing, because we're doing kind of one-time sales, so we want to sell you a game and you buy it. However, those actually exist in the real world now. There's stuff called Linden Dollars, and that's a currency in Second Life, and you can actually buy and sell Linden Dollars. There are other games where you can literally sell in-game items. I actually did this when I was in high school. I'd play a game called Asheron's Call, this was like a nerdy MMO, and I'd play the game, end up with a great item, go sell it on eBay, and I did that for like months, and I actually made some good money for being a kid. And people are willing to buy virtual goods for real cash. So, those two economies are already merged. People are already trading between real stuff, or fake stuff and real stuff with cold hard cash.
Question in the front.
Dynamic, crisp, savvy, smooth flow presentation, more than anything I've heard. But I have 3 questions. How do you monitor who's the gamers are and how long they're on? Do you have a tracing for that?
No, so since we, it would be similar to if like a retail store bought, you bought a game from them and you took it home. They wouldn't know who's playing the game. All they know is just the sales.
And how do you addict new gamers who have never played games before?
Could you rephrase that?
People who don't know how to play games.
Okay, so how would we attract them?
Yeah.
I've had a couple people ask me something similar to that, and it's a very good question. A lot of people don't know what Steam is, and so, and it's also very scary to have this big platform to kind of tie yourself to be able to become a gamer. And we don't have an answer for that right now, but we would like to have an answer for that, because we think there are some great games for everybody, not just hardcore gamers who just want to kill everything in sight. There are some games that are very story driven, that are basically novels in interactive form. And so for us, that's something we'd love to experiment with and say, hey, look, you can play this game, and it's not going to be overly violent or difficult to figure out. and it's something that you can just enjoy, like a good book or a good movie. So that's something that we'll just have to answer over time.
So our last final question, what can we as a community do to help you?
Okay, so like you were saying, traffic is going to be a big thing, and exposure is going to be a big thing for us, and attracting game developers. And so what I did was start a Thunderclap campaign, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with this. It essentially lends me your social accounts to send out a big message. And that looks horrible because I didn't know that was going to turn blue. But what this is essentially a link to a Thunderclap campaign where you would help, add us to either your Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr accounts. On June 1st, we're going to launch our first game bundle. So this is a feature we've been working on for quite a while. We're going to get multiple game developers under one product sale at a highly discounted rate, and these game bundles do exceedingly well. A game developer who hasn't made a sale in a while can all of a sudden make, sales in 4 to 5 figure units if it's successful. So what we want to do is if you can help us, we would love you to be part of this Thunderclap campaign. This is really horrible, so you can just go to our website and sign up for our newsletter, and then we'll email everyone and say, here's the Thunderclap campaign. You can click on the link if you don't want to memorize this or try to type it in now.
It'd be great too if you could tweet it out shortly.
Yes, I will.
Thank you so much for presenting today.
Thank you.
Okay, before you guys leave today, quick announcement from Zach for our One Day KC. It's a great project that he's been working on for students.
All right. Hey, y'all. Long time. So who is familiar with One Day KC? Anybody heard of it? We got Wes. A little bit. Grant, raise your hand. Come on. Okay, I've been challenged to do this in under a minute, so I'm going to actually get to it. One Day KC, we're bringing 25 of the top undergrad and grad students together at UMKC, along with 5 of the top students from Blue Valley CAPS. So we're starting the day at UMKC, and we're going to explain basically all this infrastructure happening downtown. Cisco Smart City, the Internet of Things revolution, the streetcar, all these things kind of culminating at one time. Explaining all this here with a lot of different exciting speakers. And then we jump around. So we hop on a bus, we go to Think Big. We have Herb C., the managing directing partner. I think he's got some moniker like that there, is going to be speaking. And then we get to work. And then we go to Sprint Accelerator on the bus. And then we finish the day at Union Station in the Chamber of Commerce boardroom with the 6 teams that were formed in the morning pitching what they came up with within those 12 hours. And this is our esteemed panel of judges. Some names you might know: Tom Jaron, KC Streetcar, Leo Morton, Diana Kander has written a book or 2, Bob Rainier, Sam Mears, and this is our wonderful group of sponsors. So why I'm telling you this, that would be helpful, right? Get on Eventbrite and type in #OneDayKC, and it'll say #OneDayKC pitch, and click on it, register, and come see what the teams come up with within those 12 hours. It's going to be an exciting day and some exciting stuff happening, so thank you.
And also, the winner of the One Day KC.
And also, the winner of One Day KC gets to roll their project from One Day KC over into Gig Hacks, which is a 3-day hackathon run by the Gigabit Fund. So they actually build out everything that they came up with on One Day KC. And what Courtney was referring to is the week after that, May 13th, they're going to come here and present everything that they came up with. So it's a full, long event. Follow us on Twitter, @OneDay_KC, and stay up to date. Thanks.
Thanks, Zach.
Okay, before we let you go, I've got 2 tickets to the Make 48, and this is a full-day event on the 17th of this month, in 2 days, Friday. So if you're interested in getting 2 free tickets, come see me.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thanks, everybody, for coming to 1 Million Cups Day. We will see you next week.